Hi everybody, my name is Julia and I really wanted to make this video because I'm obsessed with like YouTubers like Bailey Sarian, Robert Welsh, Candle, who do like murder mystery and makeup, ghost stories, Get Ready With Me, and like bad movies in a beat. So that kind of stuff, like doing makeup while talking about something else entirely. And I thought, hey, I could probably do that because I've always wanted to make like beauty videos, but I've never known what to say, and I definitely don't want to make tutorials because I'm not a professional. I'm still learning about how to do makeup myself, even if I want to be a professional in the future. But I just wanted to express my love for beauty and express my love for something else. So what we'll be doing today is we'll be sitting down doing my makeup to anime. Yeah, so let's get into it right away. I don't really know what else to say for this intro, but welcome to Let's Talk Anime and Makeup. It's gonna be a banger because we're talking about Fullmetal Alchemist Brotherhood, which I literally just watched this year. I know, don't come for me. I know like veteran anime fans are gonna be like, how the heck have you only watched this year? Well, I've only started watching anime maybe in college. During maybe when I started working, that came down even more. So while I do really enjoy anime, there's so much I haven't seen, but so much I also want to talk about. So I guess this series will be me discovering new anime, me discussing anime that I already love, and sharing all of my love for beauty, my love for anime with you. So I hope you guys enjoy this series, and let's just get started. Welcome. I don't know why I keep doing finger guns. Let's just... Okay, so today I thought we'd do something kind of red, something kind of gold to like fit with Ed's cape. So that's the look we're gonna go for. Hopefully it does well, because talking and doing makeup, I have not really done that before. So let's just see. Let's try our best and see how it goes. Okay, so I'm just gonna put this on to get my hair out of my face, and we'll get started with what I think of Fullmetal Alchemist Brotherhood. Okay, so I know Fullmetal is like a jam-packed anime. There's so much happening in there, and it would take literally years to do like an episode play by play and to recap everything. So I thought I'd go through maybe some key points, the points that I think make Fullmetal Alchemist Brotherhood one of the best animes there is, which it is and has been proven for so many years. And I think even now, even with the releases of the likes of Attack on Titan, more really graphic intensive animes like that, I think Fullmetal Alchemist can still hold its own because its story is just so well built. It's just an incredible anime that I think is an essential for rewatching, because there are a lot of things that you might not have gotten the first time, which I know I did, because actually when I watched it for the first time, I was watching it with my boyfriend who'd already seen it. So every couple episodes he'd ask me if I had like theories or opinions on the things that had happened, and at first I thought it was kind of annoying, like, what, we're just starting, why would I have so many theories and opinions already? But I realized from watching further into the anime that there are really a lot of things that you have to look for in the earlier episodes, even in the earlier episodes, and question, because it leads to the bigger picture, which I think makes it a really incredible anime, because it builds so much lore already from the beginning, giving you little trails of it until the big reveals in the end. And I just realized I haven't been doing any makeup since I started talking, so give me a minute. So I guess since we're starting already, I've already started babbling about like the story, the lore. I guess that's where we'll start first, story building, which I think Fullmetal truly excels at. If you're wondering what I'm using, this is the Romance Zero Layer Foundation, and they literally only have 2 shades. So I chose the darker of the two because I'm not Korean, and I was scared that it would be a little too light. but it actually kind of oxidizes a little bit. Not sure if that's like from the blend of all of the products I use or the actual foundation itself. But if I do come out like a little darker than my neck, then well, this is exactly why I'm not doing a makeup tutorial. Okay, so as I was saying about the story building and the lore, one of the things that Fullmetal Alchemist really excels at is spreading such an intensive lore throughout all 64 episodes, like at a really gradual pace. So you're not overwhelmed with information as you go along. I mean, there are parts definitely where it's like, what the heck is happening right now? But then they do pace it out. Like from the beginning, they pace out the little tidbits of information that you need in a really digestible manner, so that when you get to the end, when you get to the parts where you need to connect the dots and when you can figure out what exactly is going on behind the scenes, like it's not something that feels forced because it has been building since the very beginning. So they really took their time expounding on each key aspect of the story. For example, the Philosopher's Stone, which is the biggest theme in the story. They took a lot of time getting us to reach the point of understanding of how Philosopher's Stones are made, what needs to be done to create a Philosopher's Stone, and the implications of a Philosopher's Stone in the overall story. And in saying this, like, I feel like since they do release little tidbits of information in every episode, no matter what's in it, I feel like Full Metal just doesn't have a filler episode. Like, there is no episode that I felt was boring or I felt was unnecessary, because there literally are hints every single episode that lead towards the end. So in that aspect, I think they really created a very fully fleshed out plot, a fully fleshed out anime where they don't really need to put fillers inside just to keep it going. So back to the lore. The lore, I think, is extremely well thought out because it stems from centuries, literal centuries of like plot building, all the way from Xerxes and how they found the homunculus, like how they extracted the homunculus from the Gate of Truth, how they kept it in the flask, and then how that homunculus eventually became father and eventually plotted out this entire nationwide transmutation circle all across Amestris that took years to plan, using his children, the 7 deadly sins, and how all of this ties in with like the Ishbal War, with the riots in Lior, with King Bradley being at the helm of Amestris. Like, that to me is incredibly well thought out lore. And this goes back even to Hohenheim traveling all the way. Well, he was found by citizens of Xing, who brought him back and like healed him because he was like wandering in the desert or whatever, and then he taught them the knowledge that he learned from the genocide of Xerxes, because he became a human philosopher's stone, right? So he taught them the alchemy that he knew, and then they completely formed this entirely new Eastern alchemy, like alkahestry, if I'm pronouncing that correctly. I completely forgot. But that new form of alchemy that's like unique to the East, like it's mind-blowing that all of this stuff that started from centuries ago are extremely relevant even going forward to present day, like I was there, present day, like Al and Alphonse, their adventure to find a solution to getting their limbs and Al's body back. So one of the things I also find extremely amazing is how many questions are being raised by the first couple episodes alone. Like, we're introduced to the Philosopher's Stone really early on. We're introduced to the Gate of Truth and the concept of truth and equivalent exchange really early on. And we just see these questions that we have in our heads being answered gradually throughout the entire show. From just learning about the Philosopher's Stone, how to create it from Dr. Marco's note, to learning that the government has been making Philosopher's Stones using the Research Center 5, if I'm not mistaken, from prisoners, to scaling it up even further. Hohenheim himself is actually one gigantic human philosopher's stone, and the plans of Father to become an even bigger philosopher's stone by decimating Amestris, like, it's just so well executed, like it's well paced out, so that the answers that you have in the very beginning are explained towards the end. Like, for example, the Gate of Truth as well was something I was super confused about. I had to keep asking about it because I wasn't clear on what it really was, and in the end it showed us that the Gate of Truth, or truth itself, was actually like this being who was guarding, I guess, the use of alchemy. And I realized I stopped putting on makeup. Hold the phone. So truth is in essence this entity that pretty much oversees the use of alchemy, and like if alchemy is not used correctly, like the taboo alchemy that they do, there is a certain punishment for that. And the reason that they can do transmutation, they can do alchemy without transmutation circles, is because they've been exposed to truth, they have gained the knowledge, but they had to give something back, which is usually something extremely important to them. And in this case, that's limbs, that's Al's body, that's Izumi's innards, because she wanted to revive her baby. So that's something that's revealed like pretty later on in the show, and he comes off as like this sort of anti-villain, because he's not necessarily there to like exact punishment. He's only there to uphold like the law of alchemy, and the Gate of Truth is only accessed when you break the laws of alchemy. So that's something I found extremely interesting, and one of the very bigger questions I had at the very beginning. Another one I really had a lot of trouble with was distinguishing Eastern and Western alchemy. Like I had to go on Reddit. I was on Reddit just reading about it because I did not understand. Basically, like I said earlier, so Hohenheim went to Xing and they had this new form of alchemy like alkahestry. And the main difference I learned from Reddit, thank you Reddit, is that Eastern alchemy is based on like the connections to the energy of like the world. Like it's based on Dragon's Pulse, which is essentially like the chi of the universe. So this is why they can do like higher level medicinal alchemy, because they can channel chi through pathways of like the human body. And this is also why Mei Chang can do the long distance alchemy. That was super cool when she was trying to defeat envy. So like remember like the alchemy mines? That was a cool. And then Western alchemy is based on tectonic plates. But then we later learn that Western alchemy is actually being like gate kept by Father, who created a whole bunch of pipes under the entire nation of Amestris so that he can turn alchemy on and off as he pleases, because he's a prick. And throughout the entire series, we're kind of questioning what the real motives are. Like, what does Father even want with this gigantic transmutation circle? What are the sins even working so hard for? And why? Tell me why. So we learn in the end that what he really wanted was to become like this perfect being that wasn't confined to like the laws of alchemy. So he wanted like to be free from all of that and become like the perfect being. But why though? Like that's something I always kind of thought of. Like after you achieve that, like what do you do? Just like, cool, I'm powerful. So anyway, if you are wondering why I am not going to set my face, it is because I realized the powder I am using is absolute trash and makes the oxidation even worse. So I'm just going to go ahead and use some setting spray, and then we'll get right on to it. So another big question that I had was like what exactly the transmutation circles do. Because like I know that, I mean, Father's transmutation circle is to annihilate Amestris. Okay, cool. But then Like, it gets really complicated in the end, which I guess is my only gripe about Fullmetal Alchemist. Like, the ending is a little confusing. So I kind of do feel like I want to rewatch it just because, like, I super didn't understand, but Reddit to the rescue once again. Thank you, Reddit. So Reddit told me that, okay, so Father's transmutation circle was to kill everyone in a mistress, but Hohenheim, this smart bitch, the Hohenheim actually was like planting his own little philosopher's stone in like a reverse transmutation circle because he knew it was coming up next, and that's why he was like gone for like ages. So he was doing all of this, and when Father's transmutation circle activated, Hohenheim's transmutation circle activated to get the souls back into the original body. So like he like stole it like whoop, from Father and then put it back into the people. And then the Eastern transmutation circle, because this is the one that I was like, what it do though? The Eastern transmutation circle, which the Ishbals and Marco and Mei Chang and everyone was working hard to create, was actually to negate the barrier that I mentioned earlier that Father put beneath a mistress, so that everyone can use their alchemy like without the limit, the barrier from Father. See, this is how much Fullmetal makes you think, because there are so many questions about it while you're watching it that you don't really fully understand or might not understand unless you watch it again or unless you crawl the internet. So Fullmetal just has such a jam-packed story, plotline, lore, everything that makes it one of the most unique animes that I've ever come across on. I just think like even 10 years later it still holds true to being one of the best animes because of how much thought was really put into each and every thing in the story, including the characters, which we'll be talking about next when I put on some eyebrows. Okay, so characters. One of the things Fullmetal does really well is to make sure that they put a lot of effort into making sure you have enough time getting to know each and every character, even the characters that you see that seem like side characters, and you feel an attachment for them. For example, like even Agent Ross, even Hawkeye, even Havoc, like these characters did not, for me at least, like at the beginning, I didn't see how big of a significance they would have to the overall story. And in the end, they played such major parts, like Ross with her ultimate comeback with all the weaponry, and Hawkeye and Mustang's relationship like progressing, and Hawkeye pulling Mustang out of that rage of his. Havoc like basically just being a badass, losing his ability to walk, and then having Mustang give him the Philosopher's Stone to regain his ability to walk. Like these minor characters actually play a really big part in the story. They create such lovable characters as well. For example, the Armstrong siblings are such incredible characters because you really see like the difference between the two of them. Alex is this big burly muscular dude, but really soft inside and really like sparkly and handsome. And then you see Olivier, who's such a hard ass who like beats the crap out of Alex. She is just this HBIC head be in charge kind of girl, and you see that she also has this softer side to her that makes you really love her, that makes you really attached to her. And not to mention Hughes, like they built Hughes from the beginning as this kind of goofy guy who was like obsessed with his family, and y'all know the part where he died. It's just, there are no lies when I said I could not watch Fullmetal for like a solid couple of days or maybe a week after Hughes died, because I was just in shock. Like Hughes was just this goofy, lovable dude who loved his family, had a great wife, had a great kid, who was just really annoying to Mustang, but Mustang was his best friend. And then when he found like the leak inside the military, he was like killed by envy, and this fueled a really big development in Mustang, because his rage would like continue to grow, and you can see that during his encounter with Envy towards the end. And you can see at this point, like, there's such a big character development from all of his rage, from all of his anger, to having him like calmed down by Ed, by Hawkeye, because he was to be like the next head of Amestris, and how could Amestris be led by someone so filled with rage? Like, that's what they told him, and he found it in himself to like be at peace with the death of Hughes and not let himself be filled with that rage. And I thought that was just a really great turn for him. And other characters as well underwent really big developments that are really palpable and distinguishable. Like the brothers themselves, Ed and Al, at first it started like your average anime. Like, they were pretty naive, they were more optimistic. Ed was stubborn and hot-headed, but as the anime progressed, you could see them become more and more mature, more and more compassionate, more and more empathetic, and it's just beautiful. It's a gorgeous journey to watch. What I love about Fullmetal is that it really takes you on the journey with them. Like, with the information that we learn throughout the anime is the information that are also known by the characters. I kind of went off the rails. I was talking about character development, wasn't I? So back to character development. Like, Winry also went through a really big development from thinking she was this helpless girl that had no hand in the brothers' lives to like putting her foot down to being one of the most essential characters of the show, not just a love interest, not just the mechanic, but someone who made a really big impact, especially to Scar. And when she let go of her rage of Scar killing her parents, because she was at this impasse at one point, she had a gun in her hand and she could have killed Scar, but she didn't. And I remember Ed's words were like, these hands are not made for killing, they're made for healing. And I just thought that was a really nice line. But going back, her helping Scar, like healing Scar in that one scene where they were in the north, was one of the things that helped Scar realize that he could change. Like, he wasn't bound by his vengeance. Like, he could be like Miles, who was setting an example to the people of Amestris that Ishbalans were not the enemy. Ishbalans were and could be partners of Amestris. These characters, the way these characters are built, I'm not doing my eyebrows. What? This is supposed to be a Let's Talk Anime and Makeup, and I'm just blabbering. Anyway, so the change we see in these characters is really something I enjoyed watching, and it was a journey, a true journey. From beginning to end, watching them grow, watching them develop and become like mature characters. And mind you, Ed and Al were teenagers at this point in time, and they had so much trauma. They had so much that went wrong for them when they were children. They were abandoned by their father, their mom died, they tried to resurrect their mom, and they saw like this demon, and they were probably like scarred for life for that. But in the end, they were shown to show great maturity and to get past those traumatic experiences, being at peace with them, and even going on their own separate journeys to learn more about the world and improve themselves. And even like stuff like Edward's guilt from having his little brother's body taken away from him, to sacrificing the biggest thing in his life, which is alchemy, to give his brother his body back. It's so beautiful to me how everything just comes into a full circle, how they grow, and how everything just concludes in a really satisfying manner. And even for characters that you wouldn't think are like important or essential, like the non-essentials from the main plot, like the chimeras, you see part of their psyche. Like, they want to return back to their families, but they don't know if their families will accept them because they are chimeras. You just see them, like, from being associated with Kimberly to partnering up with Ed and Al. You see their change of heart. You find it in yourself to, like, root for them and to love them, even if they were part of the bad guys before. And even more minor characters, like Izumi's husband, is someone you grow to super love, because you can see just how much, like, he dotes on Izumi. And towards the end, during the big fight with all the mannequins and Sloth, like, him broing out with Armstrong is literally the best thing I've ever seen. Like, both of them just like, "Huh," and being BFFs afterwards. Maybe get into the eyeshadow part, so wish me luck, because this is going to be a little difficult while speaking. But anyway, so characters. Even the sins, like, what I love the most about Full Metal is that they even get you to feel for the bad guys. Like, even the sins have an aspect to them that humanizes them and makes you feel kind of bad for them, even though they're all pieces of trash, you know? Each sin is made from an aspect of Father. So Father does contain all of these emotions that these sins have. And I guess that's just a really defining part of his characterization, because as we learn, like, during the death of Envy, especially, like, when he was just this tiny little slug thing, and when Edward, like, tells him that his hatred for humans stems from the fact that he's actually jealous of humans, of human compassion, of humans' capacity to change, like, that gives both Father and Envy, like, an aspect of humanity that you might not have expected from them. We also see this in Greed, who kind of went off the rails from the whole homunculi agenda. So he kind of went by himself. I thought this was a really cute character point too, because why would Greed want to help someone else achieve getting the world when he wants to get the world too? You know what I mean? When Greed died, it was revealed that all of this that he did, like, to deviate from Father, make his own, like, little clan, his own little army, was out of his loneliness. Like, he just wanted to have friends. And that's just so sad. But you know what really makes me angry is that they let pride live. Like, I know I was talking about the whole being sympathetic towards the sins, but pride was like a piece of work, and I just could not wrap my head around the fact that they let pride grow up again. So he was a fetus, right? And they gave him back to his mom, and his mom raised him as a real boy. Like, Mom, I'm a real boy now. But he is still a homunculus. I don't know how that would play later on, but having that in my head and knowing all of the stuff that he did, even, like, taking Gluttony's Philosopher's Stone to be more powerful, like, and you let that little boy live. Another gripe I have with Full Metal, but not, that was a choice. That was a choice. So definitely aside from, wow, I'm messy. This is why I'm not doing tutorials. Anyway, so definitely aside from the plotline characterization, one of the things that Full Metal is known best for is its action sequences, which I agree with. Like, even until now, even if there are so many animes out there with incredible graphics, incredible action sequences, Full Metal definitely does not fall that far behind, because it's very creative the way they use alchemy, like making gigantic hands out of, like, rocks, or the way Armstrong uses his alchemy to make pretty statues or something. Correct me if I'm wrong or if I'm remembering it differently, but the fight scenes definitely hold their own. And when Ed creates weapons out of metal, when Izumi, like, single-handedly stopped this, like, tsunami or something that happened, you simply cannot just knock the action scenes from Full Metal, especially given when they released, like, the army of mannequins when they were fighting against Sloth, which was insane, because you would think Sloth was a slow MF, right? But then it turns out he's the fastest of the homunculi, and he was one of the toughest to beat. And he almost took out the Armstrong siblings, unlike Lust, who kind of just popped off, was incinerated by Mustang pretty early on, so we didn't really get to know her that much, but she did give some crazy scenes with like, you know what I mean? Plus the entire sequence with Pride in the forest when they had to like fight him in the darkness, or they had to figure out that they had to fight him in the darkness because Pride operates like in the shadows, right? So that was one of the most memorable scenes for me. And then Daddy Hohenheim coming in and encasing him in this ball of like wood or earth. So Fullmetal is definitely like not lacking at all when it comes to fight scenes and when it comes to delivering really great action sequences that get you engaged, especially at the end when they were defeating Father, and Father was getting weaker by the second because he was using up all of his souls, all of his Philosopher's Stones, and it was just so satisfying watching him get beat up, So I think in terms of action sequences, Fullmetal really still can hold its own, and given that it's like a 10-year-old anime, it's just, I'm gonna attempt to like not really cut this crease, but make like a halo, but I've never been good at this, so don't judge me too hard. So another thing I wanted to get into in this video are like the major themes that you see from Fullmetal, because it's definitely not your average like kids bop anime. It definitely goes into much deeper themes than you would normally see. So first and foremost, I guess, in this anime is the concept of morality, and we see that early on with like making Philosopher's Stones and like the uses of Philosopher's Stones, because they are made of souls. This is a dilemma that Ed and Al go through because of course they want to get back their bodies. One of the more obvious ways to do so is using a Philosopher's Stone, which is in essence using dead people. One of the major things they battle with that they have to find a different solution for, which they do towards the end. So we actually see Al using the Philosopher's Stone later on in the series. This was given to him by the Chimera who found Kimberly's second Philosopher's Stone, which, by the way, super sidebar, how gross is it that Kimberly keeps it in his mouth? Like, number one, hygiene, and number two, like, how do you just like and operate normally on a daily basis having that stone in your mouth? Like, what? Kimberly, do you wash that? Like, I hope he washes that. Anyway, so Al uses this Philosopher's Stone because the Chimera that was dying at the time, I'm so sorry, I forgot his name, but he was saying that the people within the Philosopher's Stone would want him to use it for their sake, like for avenging them for being created for means that they didn't want. So this was basically like the souls consenting to being used by Al for their redemption. And this is kind of a thing that Hohenheim also goes through, like in his extremely long journey. He would talk to each and every of the 500,000 souls that he contained after the genocide in Xerxes, and he would try to make amends with them and try to make peace with them, and in doing so, like, he would be able to use their power to try to expel the souls out of Father. But of course this part failed, but like that was one of the major things that he did try, and one of the major points in the morality of Philosopher's Stones and using them with the consent of the souls that they were made of, because they are still, I mean, they have died, but they're souls of people. They're souls of people who had families, who had dreams that were just stripped away from them. There's so many facets to questioning morality in this show. So even from like government corruption, does that sound familiar to you? To religious corruption, like we saw in Lior, where he was pretending to do miracles, where in fact it wasn't miracles, it was like alchemy. To Show Tucker and his daughter, like how could he possibly turn his daughter into a chimera just to retain his state alchemist position and badge and whatever. Like, how can you do that? You're a little baby girl who was so innocent and just such a cute little girl that wanted to play and was friends with Al and Ed, and what kind of monster is you? What kind of monster is you, man? So I did some of the eyeshadow and the eyeliner off cam because I was really having some trouble with it, but I swear we are almost done with this video. We still have some blush, some bronzer, some highlighter to do, so let's just move on. So another interesting part that I really like about Fullmetal Alchemist, obviously, because that's what I've been talking about for like 3 hours now, is the philosophies behind it. Because if you remember, like, Rene Descartes' whole mind-body distinction, like the mind and body being two separate entities, and the mind is unified into the body to be like a complete human. So that's kind of a recurring theme, like with the Philosopher's Stone, with Al's entire breakdown when oh my god, I forgot his name, but the guy that was also tied to a suit of armor, that was like the slicer, Barry gave him like a mental breakdown. Like, he was saying that, are we really like the people we think we are, or are these like thoughts fabricated into our bodies? Because we don't have bodies, we are souls attached to a suit of armor. So are our memories really our memories? Are our thoughts really our thoughts? Are they fabricated? But of course, Edward gets Al out of that mindset, because like, yo, no, you're my brother, we've been through so much together, how dare you like think you're not my brother, that everything is fake. They had this whole brotherly moment, and Winry like helps step in, and they have this little duel thing on the roof. It's just like the old times, like, we're brothers. But this also applies to like the Chimeras, who are like, will our family still accept us if we are Chimeras? We're not our original bodies, but we do have our memories and our personalities. So that part to me was pretty interesting, like the philosophical implications within the show, as well as the Nietzsche's perfect being the main philosophy of the homunculus, who wanted to absorb God to become the perfect being. Aside from this, we're also dealing with like the law of equivalent exchange, which is directly like related to the law of conservation, which I find really interesting, because like energy cannot be destroyed. It's just like it becomes a different form of energy, which is essentially what alchemy is. So I just find that interesting, that there are these kinds of philosophical or scientific connections within the show that play a really important part in it. And to be honest, I am running out of things to say, and I still have a little bit of makeup to do. So I guess I'll just try to speed it up as much as humanly possible, and maybe just talk about makeup a little. So right now I'm using the Detail blush and contour palette. I've been using this forever. Like, it's my favorite just because it's all in one. And yes, I do use the same brush for bronze and contour. Don't judge me. I am not professional. And I also don't have the budget for like 10 million brushes. So we're gonna be ratchet. We're ratchet on this show. So if you would like to watch future episodes, maybe, because I am planning on having future episodes, probably on Fire Force, because I also just recently watched it and it was amazing. Just prepare for the ratchet rachosity that is most definitely going to be there. And another thing, I do not contour my nose, because one, I do not know how to, and two, it scares me when my nose looks like this. So we skip that in this house. Okay, so I will be using my favorite highlighter. So this is the Too Faced Prism highlighter, and I just think it gives like a really natural glow, and it's not like, it doesn't look extremely powdery when you wear it. So that's why I love it so much. What the fuck am I doing? Where is my mirror? Okay, so I guess that is most of what I wanted to talk about for Fullmetal. I know when I'm gonna rewatch this, I'm gonna think of more things to say that I regret not including, but first episode, I hope like for the next ones that I do, it will turn out better. It will be probably more concise, or maybe have more points, but I hope that this one was at least entertaining for you as it was for me, because it's actually a lot of fun talking to myself. Is that really sad to say? It's kind of fun talking to myself into a camera. Is that super narcissistic Leo of me to say? Back to Fullmetal Alchemist, I think one of the biggest parts of judging an anime would be how rewatchable it would be, because I would encompass everything like entertainment value, story, execution, graphics, fight scenes, all of that. So in terms of rewatchability, I definitely think, why do I not use my mirror? Hello. In terms of that, I definitely would think that Full Metal is 100% rewatchable, and 200% you should rewatch it, just because, at least for me, because I'm stupid, like I missed a whole bunch of stuff that I had to like Reddit and fully understand. So definitely tick on rewatchability, because it is a fantastic anime. Lastly, I will do a lip, because I almost forgot to do a lip. So we're just doing a nude one since the eyes are a little colorful already. So we're just using the Maybelline Super Stay Matte Ink in Driver, which is a pretty nice nude color, which is kind of difficult for me to find because a lot of nudes come off as way too brown or like way too pink. I don't know. I like this one. And that completes the look and the review. I hope you guys had a fun time with me, because I definitely had a great time, and I'll just be doing some B-rolls while I'm talking. Anyway, thank you again for watching this entire video. If you sat through it, I love you. Like, thank you for spending probably an hour of your life just watching and listening to me talk about anime, and I hope to see you next time, and I promise I'll do my best to make this mini series like even better and better and better. So see you next time.